So yeah, I mean, I when I DJ'd, when I first started DJing, right? I mean, I don't know how old you are, James. I'm about 45, so I started when I was 13, and it was all on
38.
Tapes. You're a bit younger, are you? You're a young puppy.
I don't know. I'm catching up fast.
Well, when you get to 40, that's when your face starts falling off and you start showing your age.
It all went wrong about 35 for me. Started getting back issues, knee issues, all sorts.
Yeah, no, it's...
carrying those speakers upstairs probably didn't do you a lot of good.
Yeah, I definitely did a lot of that. At the end of the night in the pub, we had the big PA speakers, and we did have to climb them up a very narrow and very steep set of stairs at the back of the pub into a room that was never used for anything. It was just a storeroom, and trying to do that when you're drunk at the end of the night. Great fun.
Fun and game, yeah. Well, the equipment got a lot smaller, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm just taking my shoes off. I've literally just got in. So
that's right.
If you're wondering what I'm doing under the desk, that's what I'm up to.
I've got I survived a meeting that should have been an email mug today. It's my mum bought it for me for Christmas, and
brilliant.
Because I work remote for work as a software developer, so I'm basically sat here in this spot every morning, 9 o'clock, Monday to Friday, having a Zoom meeting with work. And you know what it's like? You grab a coffee in the morning, you just grab whatever cup's available, and every now and again I accidentally pick this one up, and I go to sip it, and I look at the screen and think, yeah. That's probably not a good look.
Slightly inappropriate, yeah.
But anyway, so how did you get from DJing into, obviously you carry the microphone to the radio booth and plug it into your radio, but how did you get into ham radio from DJing then?
By accident, I think, really. I mean, the whole ham radio thing started out, I had a friend who lived about 5 miles down the road from me, and mobile phones were expensive then, a couple of teenagers, sort of 16, 17, struggling to pay the phone bill. We thought, well, this seems like a good idea to talk to each other in the evenings, and anyone who's been in radio for more than 5 minutes will know that half a watt on a PMR 446 is not going to work, not 5 miles down the road. So we're sort of scratching our heads thinking, why didn't that work? Then I ended up buying a scanner and listening to the 2 meter net for a local club near my parents' house at the time. They had a club meet every night or every week, and I went down to the club meet, and it sort of went from there. I think it was a Raynet presentation. Ended up getting involved in Raynet, and a couple of nice guys took me under their wing. Sadly, now Silent Key, and it kind of blew from there. And then I gave up we were talking about the DJing a couple of minutes ago. I gave that up probably about 5 years or so ago. And then I thought, well, actually, YouTube isn't that dissimilar from DJing. It's still in front of a crowd. It's just the difference is on YouTube, you can hit rewind. Well, unless it's a live stream.
Yeah, I do quite like live streaming. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched any of my stuff online. I think you might have popped in 1 or 2 videos or live streams at some point.
Watched a couple, yeah.
And I do like the pressure that live streaming puts on you when you're on the air, because you kind of have to put a show on, and it kind of it puts you in a different frame of mind that takes it up a notch in your radio professionalness, if you like. And I don't know if that's because I used to be a DJ, and I did used to get on the microphone quite a lot as a DJ as well. So I guess I just feel quite natural doing it.
Well, so I guess it's not that dissimilar, really, is it? You're doing the same basic thing, aren't you?
What you do when you go out on a hill and go live, that's a whole nother ball game, because trying to set a camera up, have another tablet there or whatever to look at the chat, and be on the radio with the weather and everything else that's going on, the sun on the screen, it must be a nightmare. I've never actually done that.
Yeah, it has its challenge. The biggest challenge, I think, is dealing with the public. Because I don't know if you've ever operated SOTA on the summit. Quite often you get people coming up and saying, oh, what's all this then? And, people get a bit funny if you start shoving a camera in their face. Yeah,
you chaired one of the 145 Alives, didn't you? But I think on one of them I was recording, actually. I wasn't live, I was recording, and somebody came over, and he was actually a ham. And that's what really infuriated me. I was literally trying to chair this really busy net it was, and he came over and stood there trying to talk to me,
Yeah, that was huge, that. Now, I had about 30-odd people on at once there. It was absolutely mental.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. The first one, I've done it twice now, but the first one was busier for me. And I think the second one, there were more stations, so people were a bit more spread out, you know. But the first one was really busy. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed the second one as well, but the first one was a different kettle of fish, and it was my first time actually chairing a net of that size. And I don't log on paper either. I always use a computer or my phone app if I'm mobile or portable. But for that, you kind of have to write it down. I think you used a computer though, didn't you?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Not too bad, actually. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, I actually used a proper net program. So the program I got for logging on my laptop also has a net feature. So as people come in, you just put 1, 2, 3, and, you know, it puts them in a running order.
Is that log for OM? I mean, do you want to, I mean, you can name it if you want.
Hang on. Let me just, I can never remember what it's called. Contact log.
I mean, I build my own logging platform, on the screen behind me. But I'm quite happy to discuss other logging programs as well. Do you know what I mean? Because my system isn't for everybody. I built it for myself, and other people wanted to use it, so I've allowed them to use it. So I'm not like, don't mention other logging programs. Do you know what I mean?
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, it's not bad because, like I say, you can put the call sign in and so they come up in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as they drop out, what I did is add 10 at the beginning of their number. So 1 would come 101, so it drops them right down the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get above 100, as long as I didn't get to 100 stations on the net, which I'd be all right. But I think I'd have a lot more problems to be honest.
Oh, that would be so funny, wouldn't it? I could imagine you sort of getting into the 90s and starting to sweat. What am I going to do?
Starting to sweat anyway. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm used to dealing with pilot. You know, SOTA and worldwide flora fauna. You get some fairly big pile-ups sometimes. So I'm not averse to the odd pile-up, but even I must admit I was starting to sweat it a bit with that one. We've got a big list of 30 odd people thinking, I've got to get through all of these people and I've got to get them all talking to each other.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, right, I'm not afraid to admit this. The night before, I was literally led in bed, going in my head, how am I going to do this? Imagining, let's say I had 100 people call in on check-in. I mean, it's not going to happen, but let's say they did, worst case scenario. How do I then get everybody to speak to everybody else? And the way that I figured it out is the first person, you get them to call everybody below them, and then you go to the next one and you get them to call everybody below them until you get to the bottom. That's it. Then you call someone else in. It's that simple. Then you just go again.
But then the problem is you get people who get bored of waiting and disappear. So when you try and call them, absolute stunned silence.
Yeah, you get the people that go QRT and don't tell you, or the people that say, I'm off now, but I might be back in a minute, and that's cool, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking that because that's all part of the fun, but as a chair, there's a lot of highlighter on my paper that day.
No, it was good fun though. Gutted I missed the last one. I had to work on the last one, unfortunately. I couldn't get the time off, but as long as you do it in good weather. I don't do it when it's chucking with rain, because all the
what mic, in terms of on the microphone with a dead cat or whatever, how do you muffle the wind noise and stuff on the mic?
I don't know if you've seen these Comica Boom XD.
No.
It's basically just a wireless mic. It's like the Rode thing. So you got a receiver which clips on the camera.
Actually,
and then I literally just clip one of these transmitters on my rucksack. It's basically identical to that. It's
annoyingly, I've lost exactly the same thing. I've lost a little fluffy dead cat for it. I didn't use them. I bought them probably when they first came out, basically. But because I've got a farming YouTube channel as well as my ham radio one. So I bought them for that. I didn't use them. They've just been sat here collecting dust. And I found them the other week and I thought, that might come in handy, for doing the sort of thing that you do. But then I'd realised I'd lost my dead cat. So.
Yeah, I literally just clip that little transmitter. I normally lay the radio on top of my rucksack and then I just clip that to the rucksack.
Ah, right, okay.
So it's probably, I don't know, maybe about that far away from the radio, and I'm sat next to it. It's usually fairly quiet.
So what are you actually? Are you using a phone as the camera? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm using. I've got two cameras I use. It's either this massive, great Sony thing. if I don't mind carrying a bit of weight, or
even when you're live.
Yeah, I just use the HDMI out on the side.
And what's that plugging into, like a phone or something?
If I want something lighter, I just use that little camera.
So what are you actually broadcasting to the internet on? A phone or laptop or something?
No, hang on, let me show you.
Oh, I'm excited now. This is all a mystery.
Not the cheapest way of doing it, but it's one of these things. It basically runs Android in the background, but it's a YOLO box live.
YOLO.
I don't know if you've seen them on YouTube. There's quite
I haven't actually
on them.
So how much is one of those?
About £600-700.
Oh, almost as much as a radio.
Yeah, so it's not.
I'm going to write this down. YOLO.
Yeah, it's got the screen on the front there. You can monitor yourself on there, set up where you want it to go. You can stream to 2 live services at once. So I send it to YouTube, and you can send it to Twitch as well. Or I think Facebook is on there, but I always send it to YouTube and Twitch. I don't know how many people watch on Twitch, but
I do the same, platform. To be honest. I use Restream.io, so I just send it to Restream.io, and it can go out to all the platforms from there. So I assume that would allow you to stream to Restream.io, and then you can go wherever you want.
Custom RTMPs or whatever it is on there. So
because obviously the problem with streaming to multiple platforms from source is you need however many times the bandwidth to feed it up to those platforms.
Yeah, well, this goes to YOLO Box's server, so you have to have an account with them, and then you're only using one stream.
Okay,
if I show you
the stream.
I don't know if you can see those connectors on there. A couple of HDMI connectors on there. So I've got a reasonably long, 10-meter long HDMI cable goes from the camera into this. It's got a built-in battery. You can plug. I think there's a headphone on there. The headphone's on the bottom down there. Also mic input there, but you have trouble with syncing it with the camera, so it's always better to go straight through the camera.
Okay.
So
how much is an account for that? To monthly.
The account's free.
Oh, is it?
Doesn't cost anything for the account.
Oh, wow.
It's just the unit that's expensive.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you're streaming to multiple platforms, my Restream.io account, or if somebody will use StreamYard or whatever, if you're using that to multi-stream rather than live stream, with guests, if you know what I mean, then it's probably better off buying one of those boxes if you've not got the monthly recurring charge, and you can stream to multiple platforms. That's the point I'm making. It's the multi-platform bit.
And you can also put an SD card in the bottom there as well. So if you've seen my live streams where I play the intro video, I didn't bother on the last one, but that video is stored on that SD card. So you can play video from this.
Oh, wow.
And it's got room for a 4G SIM card in there as well. Although I use a separate router because if you imagine I'm sat on the ground, that you sometimes don't get the best signal to the mobile mast, and the phone signal's a bit hit and miss in a lot of these places. In fact, if you saw, I did one where I was doing a POTA, and I had an absolutely rock solid signal for the live stream, but I was having an issue spotting myself on my phone connection. But I've got a external router.
We're seeing everything behind the scenes now. This wasn't even the plan, was it? You're revealing all your secrets.
Yeah, there you go. Just a router there. Runs off. It's got a 12-volt plug in the bottom. Just run that off of a 12-volt battery.
I can see why people come and ask questions now with all this fandangled equipment all over the place.
The you have to carry it up the hill, though. That's why I don't live stream too often from the hilltops. But
that's certainly a lot of effort. I'm lazy with the live streams. I've got a second iPhone, and I just shove that up and hit go, and that's it. It is what it is.
I thought about doing it from the phone. I did do one from the phone, but the trouble is I couldn't see the messages.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you've got 2 phones, what I do is one phone is it's either recording or live streaming or whatever I'm doing that day. And then I've got another phone that is for logging through my own app. And then I'll switch over to the YouTube chat every now and again, but it's not perfect because I don't know what you feel like when you're live streaming. You feel a bit guilty missing people. If you watch it back later and you realize you've completely blanked somebody, you feel so bad. I don't know about you.
Brutally, honestly, I don't tend to watch the live streams back later. I tell you that it's gone live. That's it. It's over and done with. But
I watched my back, but mine are only like 40 minutes. I mean, ultimately, there's a limited audience for this hobby anyway, isn't there? And we're not in a niche that's going to be millions of views, is what I'm trying to get at.
Exactly. The reality is, virtually everyone that runs an amateur radio channel, bar a few of the real big channels here and there, and there's not many. Virtually everyone that does it for a hobby. We do it for the fun of it. It's we're not doing it to make money. I mean,
no, that's it. That's it.
Realistically, I mean, how long have I been running my channel now? 3 or 4 years. Total income, I think, is about £100 in total over those years. So,
well, my other channel, my farming channel, that's got about 4,000 subs, I think. I actually turned off the monetization to get rid of the adverts because it was so little every month that it just wasn't worth having it on. I would rather not have the adverts on the videos, and the people watching the videos get to see the videos and not adverts. I
think the problem is though, I think YouTube put the videos or put the adverts in, whether you monetize it.
I think they do now. They didn't used to.
They didn't used to. I think it's only in the last year or so they've started doing that. So I ummed and ahed for a long time as to whether or not I was going to monetize my channel, and I kind of figured, well,
why not?
They're going to show adverts anyway. I don't have any say in that. So,
yeah.
I mean, like I say, £100 in 2 or 3 years, it's not much, but
that's it. You spend that on
I'd spend that much in fuel just going out on the SOTA.
Exactly. When you put it into perspective,
what I can out of it.
Well, I mean, if it's free money at the end of the day, like you say, there's no point not taking it. But yeah, anybody that thinks ham tubers are getting rich off it, think again, because the amount of money you've spent on gear just to be able to put those videos up, you'll probably take you 10, 20 years just to get that back, at that rate.
About £200, I think I spent secondhand on that for a camera.
Yeah.
So I've already spent more than what I've made from it. And then radio, well, I'd be buying the radio kit anyway, probably.
Well,
so,
yeah.
And then
absolutely
going out and about it's a hobby at the end of the day. Like you say, it's none of us getting rich from it.
So why do you do activations? When did you get into activations? The real question here is, are you the sort of guy that goes on the radio and just calls CQ like Callum or what I do? I mean, you said earlier on you just wanted to chat to your mates, so I'm wondering how you got into activations.
It was someone from the club that I joined kind of put forward the idea of SOTA. And I think it was, I don't think SOTA had been going that long. I don't know. It's just unique being on the summit and generating a pile-up. And it's the pile-up I like.
So is it just the fact that it generates a free pile-up, basically? Because obviously if I just go on 40 meters now, I might get a pile up, I might not. You don't know. It's all hit and miss. Whereas with an activation, it's almost guaranteed as long as the band's open.
Exactly.
I heard somebody the other day on a hill down here in the Purbex, and he said he was doing a heater. It was like a hill on
HIMA.
The air or something. HIMA. Is it HIMA?
Yeah, I've not done one. We keep threatening to get together and do a Three Nations HIMA.
Is this like is this another sort of Parks on the Air? Is there somebody that does it? Is there a website and an app and all that?
I think it started with, I think it was one of the SOTA guys wanted to saw some other hills which didn't actually qualify because they have to be above a certain prominence.
Right.
So I think they basically redefined the SOTA rules for height and then started up their own program.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it until I heard it. Literally a guy calling on a hill 6 miles away earlier this week.
In some ways, it's a bit like POTA in this country. I find POTA to be really quiet here in the UK compared to America. You watch some of the American YouTube channels, they just call CQ POTA and massive pile up. But I think the equivalent over here is worldwide flora fauna. If you do flora fauna, you get a big pile up.
I think the difference in America, if you think of landmass and propagation differences, in America, what 40 meters into G is like for us, 20 meters is probably like for them.
Yeah.
In terms of speaking to people in the same country, because 40 meters is going to be same state. When we've got good into G and it's 500 to 1,000 miles, let's say, that's just one state for them.
20 meters for us is the whole of Europe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of, generally speaking, sort of 1,500, 2,000 miles on 20 meters, aren't you? Roughly, depending on condition. And you can get. It's also a good DX band a lot further. So it's interesting. We get all around Europe and into the States on 20 meters. And
yeah,
I guess it's much the same for them. They get all around the States and occasionally a bit further.
I guess they're more likely to just jump straight on 20 meters. I mean, when you do, I don't know, an activation, is your first instinct to go into G 40 meters if it's open, or what?
I generally stick to 40 and 20. It depends on the conditions and on the time of day as well. They're the two main bands. I should really put more of an effort into the upper bands. I should try and do more on the upper bands.
When you're actually activating a park, I mean, let's say it might be different for other activations. So how many QSOs do you have to get in the log for a park?
It depends what award scheme you're doing. SOTA is 4 contacts. I think POTA is 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, is it all same band, same mode?
No.
So it can be any band, any mode? Basically,
yeah.
Can it be voice and FT8, let's say?
Yeah.
I mean, is FT8 even a thing on POTA and SOTA and all these?
I think they use it on POTA, yeah. Certainly there's a few guys who use it on SOTA.
So basically, bottom line is...
Bit of a challenge taking a computer up there, but if you've got a small tablet, people do it.
So as long as you've got 4 contacts, it doesn't matter if they're a mixture of band or mode, as long as they're amateur radio confirmed contacts.
I'd have to check the rules on this. I think for SOTA, they have to be a different call sign. I think it has to be different call signs. So you can't duplicate the same person. It's supposed to be different operators, I think. Someone might correct me.
Right. So this is where the rules start to get you. So let's say you're on 20 meters. Let's stick to POTA because that's probably a more popular one. I don't know, but certainly from my perspective. So let's say you're doing a parks on the air. How many contacts do you need?
For POTA, I believe it's 10, isn't it? But I think you can double up on multiple bands for that. I think you can.
So you can work the same person on 20, 40.
I have to admit, POTA isn't one I do an awful lot of.
Right. So you're more of a summit
I'm more of a SOTA and worldwide flora fauna.
Is that because you live in?
You have to have 44 contacts.
Is that because you live in a hilly area? Is that the main reason?
No, I don't live in a hilly area. That's the problem. I end up driving halfway across the country. Well, technically into another country because I go across into Wales quite a lot.
So whereabouts are you in the country then?
Swindon.
Okay, so sort of middle. Is that sort of middle?
Yeah, pretty much slap bang in the middle.
Yeah. That's not a bad place to be then, because if you do want to travel, you're in the right place.
Yeah, true. Right on the M4 as well.
Do you go up to the lakes? I used to live in the lakes. Beautiful place.
I've done a couple of trips up to the lakes. I think there's a few videos on my channel for that.
What about, it is a good question for you. This is my pet hate. There's 2 things I cannot stand, and it's probably the same for everybody else, is people that tune on your frequency and people that whistle on your frequency. Yeah, obviously they're tuning or checking their power or SWR, whatever it is. I cannot stand it. I mean, with these modern radios, you've got the DNF button on the AC, so you can press that and it will cancel out the heterodyne if it's somebody tuning, but it does make it harder to hear the actual QSO. Yeah. The 7300 or the ICOMs have auto notch, which is fantastic. I actually prefer that feature to the Yaesu equivalent because it seems to be much
good
tighter.
On the 705.
Yeah, it seems to take out the squeal, but not without affecting the actual QSO. It seems to be, must be a tighter, higher Q filter or something on there. But what's your thoughts on people tuning and whistling on your frequency where you're trying to activate?
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. I know people do it, but I don't know. I think these days, with you're getting more and more radios with tuners built into them as well. So I think these days people are tending to use auto tuners more than manual tuners. So you still get it, but I don't think it's as prevalent as it used to be.
I've noticed since being in this hobby, there's probably a few, let's say 3 main categories of operator. You've got activators like yourself.
Yep.
You've got people like me that just like to go on air and call CQ, not activating anything. I'm just activating myself, you know.
Yeah.
And then you've got everyone else that refuses to ever call CQ or activate anything, all they do is call into people. Obviously, you've got the shortwave listeners as well, or the net people that only ever join a net on 80 or top band or whatever. That's a different kettle of fish. But I'm talking about
you got the chasers as well that chase the activators. That's quite a big crowd, but you don't hear them anywhere else other than when there's a SOTA pile up.
Yeah, it's really weird, isn't it? Because I always think I enjoy doing this, so why don't other people enjoy doing the way that I do it? You know, but it is so different.
I think that's what's so great about amateur radio. There's so many different aspects to the hobby, so many different things you can do with it. You take what you want to do and leave what you don't. You know, everyone has their own preferences.
It does. I do get annoyed though when there's I know a lot of people that have come into the hobby, but they never go on air. They don't ever do anything. And I think, why have you bought all this equipment, gone through all the effort, and then you literally just sit there staring at your radio all night, or on Discord chatting, on Facebook or on Facebook, you know, everything but using the radio. It's horses for courses, I know, but
and you know, it's the same with you got some people like these digital modes over the internet, haven't you? Other people like CW. You got the people like their military radios only ever do FM, only ever do AM even.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, each to their own. I don't begrudge anyone for what they want to do. You know, it's I do my thing, they do theirs. You know?
I think all it is when I'm calling CQ, and I think I know all of these people that have got radios right now who are at home doing sod all, and they could be giving me a call now, but they're not. Why aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
That's why I go up on the mountain.
Yeah.
Make yourself the DX. Make people want to talk to you. Put on a bit of a show.
Well, you've just said the point there. They don't want to talk to me. That's the bottom line.
Well, I didn't.
Ouch!
I didn't mean it quite like that. That did sound a bit harsh, didn't it?
Yeah, but it's true though, isn't it? At the end of the day, if they wanted to talk to you, they'd call. But,
well, it's true for anyone though. I mean, if I sat here at home calling CQ, I probably wouldn't get many calls. I tried it one evening. I got a few calls, but nothing that really stood out.
I think when calling CQ, you have, before you even pick up that microphone, you've got to decide what type of calling CQ am I doing today? Is this rag chew? Or is this trying to generate a pile-up? You have to know that before you even pick up the microphone. And if it's pile-up mode, you've got to talk quick. CQ, well, yeah, I'm not going to say it, but you've got to talk quick with real attitude and meaning and dominate that frequency and be quick with your responses. So immediately give them a signal report as soon as they call in. If you're in rag chew mode, then that's different kettle of fish altogether. I think when people fail to make contacts is when they don't know what mode they're in.
The thing that surprised me, I recently got invited on a live stream with Callum, DX Commander, and he kind of caught me off guard a bit because he turned around and said, the one thing I really loved was your
I watched that, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of caught me a bit off guard. I thought, oh, really?
I'm not knocking 11 meter chaps, but this is why... this is the big difference, isn't it? Between, other than it's a different culture, and I think people in 11 meters, they've got the 11 meter culture, and they sort of bring it with them, and then they realise it's not actually welcome, and they think, well, why not? Oh, you're all stuck up. It's like, no, it's just a different thing. It's like I don't know. It's like going to a posh restaurant. You know, you dress up and you behave a bit better than you normally would if you go into McDonald's. It's just a different night out. You know. Yeah,
but then again, you say behave better if you go than if you go into McDonald's. We got people in ham radio that.
Oh yeah, we've got our idiots. Don't get me wrong.
I think both sides have got their good guys. Both sides have got their bad guys. You know, you got idiots on both sides of it. I think. For me, I just find 11 meters. I never done the whole CB thing. I just found it far too restrictive. You're stuck on one band. So
No, I've never been 11 meters. I grew up around CB because we had them on the farm, in the tractors and stuff. And my mates had them at homes and stuff. This was sort of mid-90s, before mobile phones even came out. It was kind of a must back then. But I've never been 11 meter guy, like we have now, the guys that go on the hills doing DXing on 11 meters.
I kind of view it in the same way that I view CW and a lot of these internet data modes. It's an aspect of the radio hobby. It's not one I'm interested in, but that doesn't mean I haven't got any respect for the people that do it,
I think that's a good way of putting it, actually. I like that.
And there's a lot of people who don't like FT8 either. I actually quite enjoy an evening session on FT8 sometimes. So, whereas some people, it just bores them to tears. So to me, it's like I said earlier, we all have our own areas of the hobby that we're interested in. Just because you're not interested in it doesn't mean that other people aren't, and doesn't mean that you don't give other people credit for it. It's you, like I say, you take what interests you and leave what doesn't.
Do you mind when people say my personal is?
That's slightly annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I'm brutally honest.
I'm glad you admitted that. This is what I'm talking about, culture. When people bringing 11 meter culture, I've got nothing against CB and 11 meters. I really don't.
No.
But it's not ham radio. It's a different culture is what I'm saying. But it is an aspect of radio. It's just not something I do. But it does really irritate me when people bring that slang into the ham world.
The one thing I thought about doing, and I'd really like to do, if I can find a couple of people up for it, is get, say, 2 or 3 hams together and 2 or 3 CBers and do a live stream of the differences there. I think that could be quite interesting. So if there's any CBers out there want to come on the live stream, give me a shout.
I think you're right, but I do think it's very much like asking 3 scientists to sit down and debate with 3 flat earthers. I think it's doomed.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'd want to do it in a way that's civilized and respectful. There's certain things I'd like to learn about CB radio, like, where the hell do they get their call signs from to start with? That'd be an interesting
you make it up, don't you?
Question. Well, I don't know.
Do you know what? I actually asked someone.
They've got their own organisations, haven't they? Their own...
the Charlie Tangos.
Yeah, exactly. They've got their own
DX any others.
Contests and organisations, haven't they? So...
I was talking to someone the other night actually about exactly that, about the call signs. I was like, where? And he said, well, this, and he basically told me that this guy up north somewhere in the UK set up, this is wrong, but I don't know, Delta Tango or something, Charlie India, whatever it is. He set that up a long, long time ago, and people had to pay to get their call sign. A lot of money, and he made a packet out of it, and it's still going to this day.
But I think it would be interesting to have a bit of a chat, just about the differences. Just, maybe equipment as well. What radios are available in the CB world?
Well, I think the problem there is none of the 11 meter guys use 11 meter legal equipment.
Well, I don't know. Probably.
Well, it's definitely, I could guarantee you.
Like I say, I've never really had any involvement in it.
I know a lot of people that are in 11 meters, and I can guarantee you not one of them is running what Ofcom would class as legal equipment. And I think this is why, do you know what? I think that reason is why there's contention between the two groups, is because of that. Because they are pirates. Basically, they are pirating on 11 meters because a lot of the frequencies they use are not even legal in this country. And so they are pirates. And a lot of the guys that I've spoken to, last week I was up on top of the hill and I bumped into a guy, and he's 11 meter guy, and he was in his 60s, but he looked like an 18-year-old boy racer. He really did. Yeah. He looked like an 18-year-old boy racer that had just never grown up, but he was 60. And he said, I've driven all the way from London. I do it twice a year just to go on top of this hill and go on 11 meters. And he was showing me all of this cool equipment he's got. He's got loads of 10 meter equipment that have been ported over to 11. He said, I don't care about all these call signs and Charlie Tangos and all this nonsense. Couldn't give a damn about any of that. He goes, I don't go on Facebook, don't go on YouTube, none of that. my call sign is like Delta 1 or something, and I just go on 11 meters and shout out, and that's it.
Fair enough.
And I thought, you know what? Good on you, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's absolutely. My credit to him.
But then you talked about people not using Ofcom legal setups. How many people in this country have gone out and bought 600 watt, 1,000 watt amplifiers, 800 watt amplifiers?
Wow. Well,
are they all measuring 400 watts at the antenna feed?
Well, I've got a Acom 1000, and if you watch Callum's live streams, he admits that he's running 600 watts, but then he says, yeah, but I've got, 100 meters of coax on 10 meters to the field. I've got 3 dB of loss. So that's half the power getting to the feed point. So he's running 600 or 700, but only 300 even getting to the antenna. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the problem. Everyone overlooks all these losses and stuff in that respect, especially when you get to the higher bands and lossy coax. You do need to run more power to get power to the feed, to that amount of power to the feed point. The bottom line is, no one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Ofcom don't care. The only people do you know what?
You take that argument to the CB world as well. Does anyone care?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No,
that's my point. Nobody in the ham world that I've met cares what 11 meter guys are doing. But I think the 11 meter guys think that we do. And that's where this preemptive kind of, or they all look down their nose at us pirates attitude comes from, that I see from some people. Not all of them. Ofcom don't care what 11 meter guys are doing. They don't care what hams are doing. So why should we, to a point? The only people that seem to care are the self-appointed band police that I've noticed.
The band police, yeah,
the band police that seem to prey on M6s, 7s, whatever, foundation stations that sound like they're running more power than 10 watts, and they deliberately cause QRM for them. And this happens a lot. I shortwave listen a lot.
The band police that refuse to give their call signs on air, and the band police who are probably running about 1,000 watts.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus.
This is what drives me crackers. They are performing the greater sin in my book. Deliberate QRM is the ultimate sin in ham radio. There's nothing worse than doing that.
The thing is, just because you're an S9 signal doesn't mean you're running lots of power. I know there's a M6 guy who in our Raynet group, he absolutely loves his QRP. He genuinely never goes above his 10 watt limit. It's all about the antennas. He's really good with antennas. If any of us have got any questions with antennas, he's the one we go to. And he can put out a louder signal than anybody. I can run 200 watts and he'll still be a louder signal than me because he's got such good antennas. And I don't know if you saw, I put out a short on YouTube a while back. How much difference does a linear amplifier make? And I ran the FTDX10 barefoot at 10 watts into the Hat Green Web SDR. And then I brought the linear amp in, which took it up to about 250 watts, 275 watts, something like that. The difference, 2 S points, actually slightly under 2 S points. It was 10 dB difference. If you consider 1 S point at 6 dB, you look at the measurements on the Web SDR, it's about 10 dB difference, so marginally less than 2 S points.
Yeah, I mean, I take your argument, but you have to remember, if a lot of people are living in a situation where they've got S7 of noise on 40 meters. So if your extra 200 watts or whatever it is taking you from an S7 to a 7.5, that's the difference between a QSO and no QSO.
Could be, potentially, yeah. Even if I had the amplifier to do it, I would not run more than 400 watts. So maybe that's because of what I do for a living. Aircraft engineer, we're dealing with safety. So I tend to be a bit of a stickler for the rules. But my personal attitude is I'll stick to the rules, but if you or anyone else wants to break the rules, that's between you and Ofcom.
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same.
It's not for me to enforce the rules or police it. That's, you do what you want. I'm not getting involved. That's entirely up to you.
There's not a person out there that's got a kilowatt amp that has never run more than their legal limit. There may be one, don't get me wrong. There's always the exception to the rule. There's bound to be one somewhere. But yeah, let's be honest.
But what else would you go out and buy a kilowatt amp?
Yeah, well, I mean,
yeah, you can make the argument of the losses, but
well, not even that. You can make the argument of I want an amp that's going to last as long as I live. You know, I don't want to run a 200, well, let's say a 400 watt amp maximum all day long and it blow up after 2 weeks. This ACOM isn't. It ain't going to go pop, is it? You know, when I'm just ticking it along at 400 watts, it's going to last forever. The tube might go. I've got a spare tube. You know, but if that was a 400 watt amp, I promise you that would go pop within 2 years, and I'd have to buy another one. So yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Depends how you drive it as well, I guess. I mean, I don't tend to run my amp that hard. You know.
Yeah, but you never use your radio, James. You've already told me this.
Yeah, well, no, I do, but not. I'm not prolifically on the air. I'm not on the air as much as I should be, to be fair. Yeah,
and I think that's the difference. I think there are people that go on the radio every now and again, and then there's people that are a bit more hardcore.
I take the point.
I'm literally on the radio every day, so when I want that amp, that when I turn it on, it works. I don't have to think, is it tuned perfectly, whatever. These ACOMs, the tube ones, you know, they can take quite a bit of SWR as well. So there's that as well. But yeah, I mean, I've bought kit that's just going to work forever. Ultimately, I've bought the best I could afford, and rather than the cheapest that I could get, because I want it to last, because I want to use it every day. I think that's my excuse.
You said you got a dipole out there. Is it Ampro sticks? Does that get out fairly well then?
Yeah, it does.
It is. Yeah.
You'd be amazed. I use it for receive. I transmit on a double bazooka in my roof on 40 meters.
Okay.
And I put 400 watts into that, and I receive on the hamstick dipole.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was thinking 400 watts into the dipole. They're normally about 100 watts, aren't they?
I think they're rated at 200 watts. Now that is, I don't know if that's just one, as in on a mag mount. But if you've got them as a dipole, does that mean it's 400 because it's split? I'm not sure. Probably not.
No, I'd still say probably 150, 200 watts.
Well, check back in a month, James, and we'll know the answer to that question, because I'm putting up a 20 meter one tomorrow.
Oh, right.
I've at the moment I've got a 40 meter one. That works really well, and I've got the bits to add a 20 meter hamstick dipole below it, and that's job for tomorrow now.
Now, I've often wondered about those, how well they actually work, how much of a compromise they are.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of, on my channel, the last 2 live streams that I did were using that hamstick as a receive. Okay. If you're interested, they're only like 20 minutes long. I've edited them as well, so I've edited out the boring bits. Okay, all right, we'll call it a day.
Okay, no worries. Well, thanks for the chat, and thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, James. I didn't know if you were going to say yes or no, but I'm glad you said yes.
I'll say yes to most things, to be honest. It's fun, isn't it? It's like I said at the beginning, we do this as a hobby. We do it for fun. It's talking to each other is part of the hobby. So, you know,
this is just like a recorded QSO, basically. QSO on Zoom.
It's only going to promote the hobby. So, you know, why not? Let's have a bit of fun with it.
Absolutely.